but yeah. That's what I do with that, and yeah, I'll recommend that book afterwards if you're
Yeah,
interested.
definitely. I'm interested in that.
But Densmore, let's get into that. We talked about this a bit. How did that spring forth?
Densmore came about because in 2016 I went on a road trip around the country, and I stopped at Densmore in Kansas, which is a unincorporated town.
Mm-hmm.
So it's virtually abandoned.
Yeah.
And my family owns property out there for some reason. So when I went out there, it's like a dystopia. So I was like, this would be perfect for a horror film, like zombie film, anything. Because the buildings are still standing. They're not all graffitied because it's in the middle of Kansas. It's the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So then one day, Eric and I were together and like brainstorming. And I was just like, or he and I were like, we should write a film for Densmore because it's such a unique location. And we went back and forth for a few months about like the story. At first it was going to be about like a botanist who's like, I don't even remember where it went from that. But eventually I was like, how creepy would it be if an entire town, granted a small town, but like 100+ people just vanish overnight, like almost like The Leftovers, just like gone. And the only piece of evidence that they have is this like 911 call. And then we just kind of spitballed it from there. Mm-hmm. And we went out to Densmore and filmed the proof of concept film, which is what you saw, which is just like an 11-minute short film. And it got a lot of good feedback. Kind of what you were saying earlier about how you think everything you do is worse than it is or whatever. Like if I could go back, there's definitely some things I would have done different with Densmore.
What would you do different?
What I would do different? The audio, I think for sure. That's probably like my cringiest thing. I
mean, I didn't notice anything wrong with it.
Well, I know.
What was it that was wrong?
So when we shot, and this is actually a lesson for everybody, when you are location scouting, bring your audio person with you because they're going to hear things that you don't when you're scouting. And so when we were shooting the office scene in the office building, we didn't have control over the thermostat. So we couldn't turn off. I don't remember if the heat was on or the air was on or if it was just a fan, but we didn't have control of that. And we didn't realize that until we went back and our sound guy was like, hey, what can we do about this? Yeah. So I had read or I'd heard that it's always good to bring your sound guy or sound person with you.
Yeah. Or even just bring a microphone, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I might be wrong about that.
No, I mean, that could work too. I think I would bring, if I was serious about like location scouting, I think I would definitely bring him or her with me because they're definitely going to pick up things that you don't pick up because you don't know. I mean, you don't always know what to listen for. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure everyone can pick up on air conditioners or, lawnmowers and stuff, but there's definitely things that you might not pick up on.
I know with, there's I forget what it's called. It's basic. I'll remember the name, but it's a bundle of sound plugins that I use, and their noise canceling plugin is the best thing I've ever used. I don't even have to get a noise sample, and it like I use it for the podcast. You don't hear any of the other sound or like anything. Like if somebody's like running water or something, and I think, oh, that's gonna show up, it doesn't. Like. Or I don't know. It just I think that's probably that might be a result of that. But I use it with pretty much everything in it, and if I need it. And since I started using that, I'm a bit more fearless in terms of audio. But then again, I've just gotten better at figuring it out. I don't know. I mean,
yeah, that's kind of how. I mean, I use for Densmore. I mean, even our post sound mixer. He wasn't even able to like clean it up 100%. And I think that's what I'm like cringing about.
See, I never noticed it. I was wrapped up in the story.
Yeah. See, story, that's something that so many, story can captivate, even if like the shot's out of focus slightly, or like the acting is like not terrible but not the greatest. Like story will carry. I mean, there's so many films out there that like would be garbage if it weren't for the story. Like production wise, you're just like, oh god. But if I'll add, that's why I like your work is you guys care about story. When I'm watching one of your films, I'm not distracted by the cinematography. I'm not distracted by like anything really. I'm absorbed by the story. Like there's like, and it comes like, especially with like, I was going to say this about your like cinematography. Like the reason I asked you if you'd be interested in shooting or DPing my film, my feature film I was planning to do, which we can get into that another time. But you know, because I realized after shooting this short film I did, I realized like, yeah, doing that, like not being able to, it was, if it was volunteer, it would be like it would be like a fucking ridiculous thing. Right.
But it's like that. That's the thing. Like you, when I'm watching your films, like some DPs, I won't name names, but you can tell that they're doing it for the real, or they're doing it for, or they say they're doing it for story, but it doesn't feel like it to you. You know, does that ever? I don't know.
Well, thank you. That's actually the fact that you are saying that you're not distracted by cinematography or acting.
Well, you have visual, like it's visually interesting what you're doing,
right? But that's actually
in
a good thing. Like so, cinematography. I'm in the middle of reading through this huge cinematography theory and
I know what book you're reading.
Yeah,
I think I have it.
I've definitely posted about it. It's awesome, but
I didn't even see the post. I don't think I did.
Oh.
But I know what book you're reading because, like, what is it? Alyssa Rooney, like.
Yeah, exactly.
She like posts about it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love her work.
So yeah, I was looking at that, and like, if your cinematography is distracting, like, I don't want to say that it's not good, but like cinematography, like acting, is not supposed to be distracting. It's not supposed to take you out of the story. Just like audio. I mean, if something is blatantly off, you can tell as the viewer something is off.
Do you feel like because you're a writer as well that you feel like it makes you a better storyteller and a better cinematographer? Because I feel the reason why is I feel like when somebody writes and they're a good writer, and I like the script of Densmore from what I saw in the film. So I think you're obviously like you're able to write and you're a good writer, and so that feel like I was saying you're a good writer.
I appreciate
I'm realizing it's like I sound like I'm not saying that.
No, that's funny.
It's basically like you're able to think. When writing is thinking on paper, and when you're a good writer, you know you're so used to writing on paper, and when you're writing on paper, you're seeing your thought process. And you know how to reconstruct it especially when you rewrite things, and when you've done it enough, you just you think in that way, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. I don't know.
Also, you care about story first.
Well, yeah, you know. And another thing I think people miss the mark on a lot is dialogue, because I think people they write this dialogue that I'm just like, read it out loud to yourself. Is that natural? Like no one says like, do not do that. Like it's
did you watch Aaron Sorkin's Masterclass by any chance?
Mm-mm.
That's one of the things that he mentions is he'll actually perform his dialogue. He'll stand up and perform. I can't do that.
Right. No, like, I mean, I'm in the middle of writing a feature, and I like literally I go back and I just read it out loud. I'm like, my neighbors probably think I'm crazy talking to myself next door, but you have to, because otherwise you're like, it's not going to make sense. It's not going to be natural dialogue. Like you can tell when something's unnatural and it feels unnatural.
And I'll usually save it for like the first draft. I usually don't read out loud because I know I'm going to rewrite it. It's just about getting everything on paper. And if I'm saying it out loud for the first time, usually it's not helping, but, or sometimes it does. But yeah, usually I like to I'll read it out loud. Just the dialogue mainly, especially. And you know, do that, like read out loud the lines, and then you figure out what sounds right. And then also when you've done it enough, you innately, as you reread it for the first time without even reading it out loud, you innately know what's going to sound right too, from that. But Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this podcast clip. For notes and links to things mentioned on the show, my films, full episodes, or other selected clips, go to proffitableproductions.com/podcast. Profitable is spelled like my name with 2 F's and 2 T's. Also, for updates on future episodes, follow me on Instagram at Proffitt Take and at Profitable Productions. Consider liking and subscribing. It helps me out a lot. Thanks again. Catch you on the next take.